The benefits of serving in leadership in the Church of Jesus is not the same kind of benefits that leaders in the world experience and enjoy. Leaders are to lead in serving and following Jesus. And the benefits of serving Jesus is not the same. Look at verse 13. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 13. It says, for those, and here it's speaking about deacons, it applies broader though. Those who have served well as deacons obtain for themselves two things: a high standing and great confidence. I think other translations say boldness in the faith that is in Jesus. And there are earthly benefits, blessings, perks, so to speak, that come with positions of leadership at times. There are moments of satisfaction, gratification, joy. Sometimes you get to see the fruit of your labor. But there are challenges. There are struggles. There are disappointments. And those challenges and struggles and disappointments often probably will outnumber and outweigh the earthly benefits you receive from serving. Look at Jesus. Jesus is our example, right? He's our example of leader. I think the only biblical example of a leader that we can follow is Jesus. And that's where we should look. We should not be writing books about Paul or Timothy or David or Nehemiah or Moses as our example of leadership. They may have demonstrated some characteristics of leaders. But for us, for leaders in the church, Jesus is the only example that we should be following. And so as we look at Jesus, for the most part, Jesus' life was a leadership that followed a path of intentional sacrifices for people who did not value nor appreciate what He did for them. Is that not true? And for the most part, Jesus' life was serving uncaring and ungrateful people who wanted Him to serve their own selfish desires. Pastor, tell me a funny story and let me go out the door feeling good about myself. Jesus came to lay down His life for the sinner. The sinners wanted to have physical healing to gain dominion over their enemies and be given bread from heaven for every meal. They would follow Jesus on their terms, but not on His terms. And yet, Jesus sacrificed. Jesus served. The leader in the church will sacrifice and serve as Jesus did because he loves and cares for people regardless of how people respond. Is that easy? It wasn't easy for Jesus. It's not easy for those who serve God. And so in verse 13, we're given two things to embrace regarding the outcome of serving. First of all, we have a high standing, a good standing, if you will. We can have confidence when we serve with the love of the Lord that that is a good place to stand. After all, when we serve like Jesus, we're standing with Jesus. A good standing. And then it says a great confidence. A great confidence. That is, when we serve the Lord with a sacrificial love, it is a testimony to our own heart and a confirmation of our faith. Now, some of us struggle with confidence in our faith. And part of the reason we struggle is because we're still selfish instead of serving. How can I be so selfish and truly be a follower of Jesus? Well, that's a good question, and you need to deal with that. But when we find ourselves actively engaged in sacrificial serving of other people, it's like, wow. You look at yourself and go, wow, this isn't me. This is God working through me. He must be real. And so when we serve well, we have a great confidence. Leaders are not super saints. They're just saints who follow Jesus to a larger degree than others who can follow their lead. And so leadership in the church is about the work, not the position. And we all should be doing the work. It's about submission in the leader's life to authority. We should all be in submission to Jesus. It's about serving from the heart with or without a position or title. It's about love. It's about laying down our life for other people apart from earthly benefit or reward. A life of sacrificial serving in love is a life of victory over sin and selflessness that every follower of Jesus should be knowing and growing in. So we all should be leaders in our practice, not necessarily in position. God won't call all of us to a position of leadership, but He calls all of us to a practice of serving like Jesus did.